the Buccaneers could start the season 2-2. Whereas the Eagles could get out of the season and really start the season at 4-0 before they get into that Cardinal game. This football team, again, you didn't lose anybody. You added pieces. You improved an opportunity for you to be able to do this. Hey, man, look at the components that we added here. Hassan Reddick on the other side. He's primed and ready to rock and roll. This guy wants to win ball games. Everybody right now in Philadelphia in the Eagle organization is looking at this schedule, and you know what they're saying? They're doing this. Look, there's no excuses. That's right. To you, welcome aboard the National Football Show. It's Big Silz. Appreciate everybody hanging in there with us. And I appreciate everybody in what you're doing for the program and how you guys are making this one of the fastest growing shows on YouTube. So thank you so much. I mean, just take a look at the views and how well we're doing. You guys are all making that happen. And also, too, the likes of the show. I start the show off by saying, please hit the like button. Thank you so much. We're going to go into everything here today. This is going to be a sports potpourri today. And it's going to pretty much cover a lot of stuff today. We're going to talk at the bottom of the hour with our friend, senior writer from CBS Sports, Dennis Dodd, about the nil law and the nil rule. Is it good or bad for college football? How will it affect the NFL? In hour number 2, our friend, Philly 500, we're going to get a fan's reaction to the Eagles' schedule release last night. That was fun last night, and what we did with JAKIB Sports. Everybody got on, gave their 2 cents of what the Eagles season's going to look like. Right now, sitting here on May 13th. Happy Friday the 13th to you, too. So we all had a good spin last night. We all had different directions. I really love that about our network, is that you don't get the same show each and every single day. So we're going to talk to our friend Philly 500 in hour number 2. By the way, Seth Joyner sends, and so does Keith Jackson, they send their condolences in the fact that they could not make it here today. And they're going to work on trying to come aboard with us next week. So we look forward to having those guys as we expand into the sports world, Major League Baseball. We're going to try to get Doc Rivers on too next week. I'm going to try to get my friend Doc Rivers on next week because I want to talk to him. And that's where I'm going to start here. I'll tell you something about Jimmy Butler, and I said it the other day to you. Don't ever think that guy doesn't want the Sixers' ass every time he steps on the court. In your own barn last night, he made the Philadelphia 76ers look like kids who didn't want to play. He stole your heart last night. That guy took the heart out of the Sixers. I'm not sure they ever had it, but he just stomped on it. In your own barn. This has got nothing to do with the fans. This has got nothing to do with the organization. This has got to do with the players last night. How about in the fourth period, the way that they were not hustling, going after loose basketballs? That was terrible. What an absolutely awful exhibition of basketball the Sixers put on last night. Effort. Will. Fight for it. Heard Doc saying that. That was terrible. Okay? You got Jimmy Butler going into the locker room at the end of the game talking about Tobias Harris. You kept that dude over me? That was classic and awesome and in your face. Dude, don't tell me that guy doesn't have an ass for the Sixer organization. Do not tell me he does not. And by the way, I'm going to start here with this one too. It's easy to sit here and bang on Doc Rivers or sit here and bang on everybody, but I'm going to talk about 2 people here. First, I'm going to talk about Joel Embiid sitting at the podium talking about his basketball team and how soft they were and how we got to get tougher. James Harden's not good. Hey, I get the fact he had a cracked face, injured hand. I get all that. But do you really think that's the place to throw your teammates under a bus? Dude, if I'm going to throw somebody under a bus, I'm going to do it in the locker room, and I'm going to face-to-face you on it. And I'm not saying he didn't do that, but that's stuff that should be kept in a locker room. Throwing your teammates under the bus like that. You okay with that? I wasn't. That's not how a MVP candidate acts, in my opinion. You don't start shitting on the guys that you go out and do battle with, even if they do put a shitty effort up like that. I disagree with that. If I got a problem with my teammate and I got a problem with my boys, I'm going to go in there and say, this is what's going to be kept in the locker room. Whatever happened to that code? What's said in the locker room stays in the locker room. Now the locker room is like Twitter, press conferences. Today's NBA, today's athlete. They sit in front of a podium because you know what it does? It deflects. It comes off like it deflects. It looks like it deflects. Hey, I was hurt. I hurt my hand. I had an MVP season. Guess what? It was them. They suck. You sound like LeBron. You know, I kill LeBron for that. When you're going to go after your teammates, do it in private, dude. That's what leadership does. You want to shit on someone? Shit on them in private. You're soft. And by the way, how about Embiid screaming at his guys on the bench when they need it the most and when it was going on? Don't do it after the fact. Yeah, we're soft. We're not good. We need to be tougher. Great, guys. This just in. Really? I was disappointed with that. By the way, could it be a moment? Sure. But do you really think that you're going to shit on your teammates? Would you shit on your teammate in public? Or would you rather do it behind the scenes and keep it in the locker room with your boys? The media doesn't have to know this. You don't owe them anything. You owe your teammates your criticism, not the media. You don't owe anybody in Philadelphia sports media those comments. Dude, that's a crappy code, man. I hate in today's society that we see that with today's sports guys. Let me go in public and shit on my teammates. It's them, not me. Hey, dude, I saw you moping in Game 5 because you didn't win the MVP award. I don't know, just me. That was my takeaway from it. Yeah, but I'm hurt. Okay, don't play. That came off awful, man. Can I tell you this, though? Watch this. I got to give it to Howie Roseman. You know why? The Eagles have a pretty good culture. They have a pretty good culture. Even though all that shit was going on with Carson Wentz in the building, they did their best to try to suppress it. And when it became a problem, what did they do? They got rid of everybody in the building that they thought created that mess. Right or wrong, whether you think the firing of Doug Peterson was right or the exit of Carson Wentz, Howie Roseman said, we got to clean this place up. We can't have this shit. Isn't the Eagle organization now in a better place, at least spiritually and mentally, and how they're going to approach the 2022 season? And you don't have whisperers in the corner like Alshon Jeffries? Don't you think? The Eagles have cleaned that up. They scrubbed the walls. They went into the locker room and got rid of that shit. Good for Howie. That's another check in the right direction for Howie Roseman. Here, let me do this too. Josh Harris, you suck as an owner. You suck. Trust the process. Trust the process. Are you kidding me? Trust the process. You told Philadelphia sports fan, an NBA fan, and sports fan, we're going to suck for a while. We're going to pass on Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're going to take folks and all these other shitty moves that did not pan out, and you're going to hand you this. And you're going to pass and move Jimmy Butler. Did you see Jimmy Butler saying how he wanted to still be a Sixer and play with Embiid? He didn't want to ever leave. I have never seen an ownership make more mistakes after one another like I've seen the 76er organization. It's mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. This ain't a Doc Rivers thing. This is a culture thing. Dude, that owner has created a shit pile culture. You want to know what losing franchises look like? The Philadelphia 76ers have a losing culture. They will never win until that owner passes the baton, and I know he is. Dude, Josh Harris, he's the problem. Trust the process. What process is that? Hey, I'll tell you this, though. Hey, Raymond, you know, you want to shit all over Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers had the most successful era in the history of Clipper basketball. You know, they say, well, Doc didn't really do a great job with the L.A. Clippers. The L.A. Clippers owned by Donald Sterling? That L.A. Clippers? Doc goes into that building and changes the culture and they win? I get the postseason. I'm with you. Rotation changes, all that shit. But, dude, when a coach is sitting on the pine and he's begging you to have effort, that's a player deal. Dude, that owner has created a shitstorm. Kudos to the Eagles. Kudos to the Eagles. They cleaned it up. They're not going to have that. They were not going to have that. They got rid of Wentz. They got rid of Doug. They got rid of all the people that were dividing the locker room. Good for them. They weren't going to do that. And right now you have a cohesive locker. And get this, you got guys pulling for one another. I highly doubt you're ever going to see this coming out of the Eagles organization. Jason Kelce going like this. Yeah, man, Jalen Hurts sucked in that Cowboy game. He's got to play better. You know what, man? He wasn't very tough in that game, and we weren't very tough on defense. We just got to play better. We got shit kicked in, and quite frankly, played well, but everybody else really shit the bed. I doubt you're going to hear that. I totally doubt that. I totally doubt that. To me, man, that was more than just losing Game 6 and getting knocked out of the playoffs last night. That was watching an organization unravel. Right in front of your eyes. They didn't even fight for it. They didn't even fight for it. They didn't care. They didn't even fight for it. Man. You mentioned this, and by the way, when Harden was asked the question, too, at the press conference in the post game about the contract extension, made me feel that Daryl Morey and ownership has already worked out this contract extension, that he's getting that extension. Holy cow, man. But that's okay, because you know what will happen? You're going to be in the same position that the Lakers are in with Russell Westbrook. You're not going to be able to dump a guy with $50 million annually on his record. You're not going to be able to get rid of him. And you're going to be in purgatory again. The Sixers are not going to be a champion. They'll never win a championship with Joel Embiid in the situation that they're in right now. Never. And it wouldn't shock me one day if Embiid decides to roll out of Philly, because he's just got a terrible organization. I mean, okay? Just without a doubt. Terrible. Just terrible. Okay, let me roll into this here. The schedule came out last night. Okay, Randall, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Xander, should we take a timeout and see if we can bring this thing back? Because people are saying that we're having issues here with the internet. Maybe what we should do here. Oh, Xander says it's coming back. Okay. I apologize, guys. They have the worst internet in California, and I apologize for that. And, so hopefully this thing all comes back here. And I appreciate everybody being patient with me. Believe us, it aggravates all of us. So hopefully this ends up coming back here for us. So the schedule was released last night. And I'm going to throw this topic at you here. Does the 2002 Eagles schedule give them a chance to win the East? I looked at the schedule, and I'll tell you something. I'm very optimistic about the Philadelphia Eagles' opportunities in 2022 to have a really good season. Take care of the football. Keep doing what you're doing. Improve on what you did a year ago. Run the rock. Jalen gets better. A.J. Brown and all that. Okay? I mean, look, man. I mean, the Eagles are also going to be in prime time a couple times. Dude, this is really set up. And I'm not going to do this. Look, and I'm going to agree with some of you here and what I've done here over the last couple weeks here. You know, I sound sometimes like I'm coming off negative, and all I'm trying to do is put people in places to be successful when it comes to the Eagles. Jalen's got to be here. We've all talked about it. Okay. And you know what? I agree with you. It's talked about ad nauseum. We all know he's got to do this. He's got to do this. A, B, C, D, and E to get where he is. The big question will be, are the pieces here for this football team to move forward and have an opportunity to win? Because I'll tell you something, when you take a look at the Buccaneers schedule, if you look at the Buccaneers schedule right out of the gate, man, they got Kansas City, they got the Rams, they've got some pretty tough football teams out of the gate. They got the Packers that are also in there. I think they got the Saints right out of the gate. Going to start playing divisional games. Brady struggled against the Saints. The Buccaneers could start the season 2-2. Whereas the Eagles could get out of the season and really start the season at 4-0 before they get into that Cardinal game. This football team, again, you didn't lose anybody. You added pieces. You improved an opportunity for you to be able to do this. Hey, man, look at the components that we added here. Hassan Reddick on the other side is primed and ready to rock and roll. This guy wants to win ball games. Everybody right now in Philadelphia in the Eagle organization is looking at this schedule, and you know what they're saying? They're doing this. Look, there's no excuses. That's right. Jeremiah, there's absolutely no excuses. Zero excuses here. Lions win. Vikings be a tough win. Jaguars going to be a tough game because it's Dougie. The Cardinals, when you get to the Cardinals, and I'm going to ask a question here in a minute, because there's going to be certain benchmark games, okay, that we're going to start circling here, that we're going to be asking ourselves what kind of football team we have. So all of this is set up. You know, I looked at the schedule. I talked about it last night at JAKIB Sports, and we're all going back and forth. And I start circling benchmark games. And I'm going to tell you what I think the benchmark games are. Look at this. Lions, Vikings, Washington, Jags. Week 5, I think, is a benchmark game. First 4 games of the season, you get out to a what, 3-1 start? You get into that Cards game. The Cards are comparable to you. I think the rosters, if you put them all together, the defensive side of the football with the Arizona Cardinals, I don't know. I think maybe the Eagles could be in that conversation where they may have a better one. Do they have the same offense that the Cardinals have? Well, without DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know. I think Kyler Murray's better, but it's close. So you're going to go into that Cardinal game. In my opinion, you're going to go into that Cardinal game. That's going to be your first test on who you are. You see, I want to play tough teams right away. Okay? I want to know who I am. You know, one of the great things that I really enjoyed, okay? The one thing that I really enjoyed when I played at the University of Miami, you know what it was? We played Florida the first game of the year every year when I was in college. You knew who you were right away. Either you were going to have a great season or you were not going to have a great season, or you had to do a lot of work. Check it out. One year we were expected to really have a great year. We get shellacked by the Gators 28-3. We go on an iconic run, go 11-1 and win the national championship. We go up to the Gators. We went into Tampa. We played on a neutral site. They beat us. We played that first game of the year forever. Obviously, they don't do that anymore, but I like that because I knew exactly, okay? I knew exactly. Yeah, because you know why I skipped over the Commander game? It's week 3. You should be better than that football team. If you get this, I say the first litmus test game is the Cardinal game. If you think it's Washington, then you really don't have a good season ahead of you. I'm giving what everyone has said this football team should be. A 12-5 team, 11-6. They're going to be somewhere in there. Bro, if you can't get to the Cardinal game at 4-1, you got a problem with your season. That Cardinal game is going to tell us. Because then, get this. You win that football game, you got the Cowboys on the other side of that going into the bye. That 2-week little window there between the Cardinals and the Cowboys. And check it out what you have emotionally working on this. Listen to what you have. Right, I'm not going, Jesse, Wentz has got enough to deal with. He's got enough to deal with in that week 3 game. I'll get on him because he talked about the Eagles. And he talked about the Eagle games. But look at this 3-game stretch going into the bye. You got an emotional game with Doug Peterson coming back to the link. Then you've got the Cardinals, who is a team that's being considered a threat to win the NFC West, which is arguably the best division in the NFC. Then you got your nemesis, the Cowboys. You got those 2 games right there back to back. Remember what I told you. If you can't, what do you think you are going into that Cowboy game? What do you think you are going into that Cowboy game? 5-1? 1, 2, 3, 4. You're 5-1 going into the. You're 5-1 going into the Cowboy game. 5-1. The Cowboy game going into the bye. And think about this, what you have during this time. I dissected the schedule a tad bit more last night. Because look at this. From week 6 all the way until week 9, you're at home with a bye. You got Cowboys home, bye, Steelers home coming out of the bye. That Cowboy game's going to tell us more. You're either going to be 6-1 or 5-2, heading into a bye, coming out with an outmanned Steeler team. You potentially are going to go 7-2 there. 8-1. Then you got the Texans. You're talking about 8-2, 9-1. Then you got Washington at home with Wentz coming into the building. You may have a 1-loss or 2-loss Eagle team when Carson Wentz rolls in to Lincoln Financial. This is shaping up to tell us all we need to know. By week 10, your football team's 8-2, 9-1. You're starting to sit there and people are starting to take notice of you right here. Because then you've got the Colts on the other side of that. Then you've got that 3-man, that 3-team death row there where you've got Colts, Packers, and Titans. There's your toughest stretch of your season right there. Actually, if you want, you could throw Washington into that because it's a divisional game. Here's your 4-game stretch. Your season going into the toughest part of your season, okay, is Washington, Colts, Packers, Titans. These 4 games here, okay? These 4 games, you could be rolling in there at 8-2 as you roll into this. Then you got Giants, Bears, and then you got the Cowboys in week 16. There's a couple benchmark games here. We're going to know how good this football team is. We're going to know how good Jalen Hurts is when you get to week 10. Week 10 will tell us everything because as you get ready for week 10, it's Washington, the Colts, the Packers, and the Titans. Your season is right there. And get this. What's great about that stretch, 3 of the 4 games are at home. What a schedule. 3 of your toughest 4 games that you play in your schedule are at home. Okay? Everyone knows everyone plays better when they are at home. Then you finish it up, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, and then the Giants. I'm not expecting anybody but the Cowboys. And the outlier is this Saints game. I don't know how well Jameis Winston's going to play. There's no Sean Payton there. Okay? Zach, it's enormous for you at home. When you have the toughest stretch of your schedule, okay, the toughest stretch for your schedule, and you got 3 of those 4 games at home, and you've been able to pretty much play against teams that you're going to be favored against. Here, look, watch this. Lions, you're favored. Vikings at home, you're probably going to be favored by 1 or 2 points, I would think. You're going to be favored against Washington, I would assume. You're going to be favored against the Jags. You're probably not going to be favored against the Cardinals, and you're probably not going to be favored against the Cowboys, depending on how that, again, those 2 games going into the bye. Rico says, unless we can get the quarterback, that's a game changer. Okay? Chris says, I got us losing to Dallas and Washington once. And you know what, Chris? That's a trend that we see all the time. Hey, and by the way, does anyone know this at all? When's the last repeat champion in the NFC East? I can't remember the last time a team put 2 NFC East crowns together. Is it Dallas that did that? I can't remember. You know what, though? Here, always remember this, though, and Barrett and I hit on this, Chris. Cousins doesn't play well on the road. He's great up at that dome, but he really doesn't play all that hot, okay, on the road. Eagles 03-04. Think about that. Thanks, Davey Boy. Thanks, Zach. Think about that. We haven't seen a repeat champion in the NFC East, okay, since 2003, 2004. So this is going to still be a revolving door, but you could see the Eagles here grab a hold of this division this year. I think this is a schedule that lines up, and I would say this. I looked at Dallas' schedule compared to what I'm looking at with the Eagles' schedule. With all the moves you made and all the moves that they didn't make, I don't know how you go into this season unless you're just blinded by the Cowboy star. You sit there and go like this. How do you not go like this? Well, the Cowboys have come down to the Eagles. They may not be better, the Eagles, but you could flip a coin on this game now. And hypothetically, say you split. You're still talking about an 11-6 season, an 11-win season. If you split with Dallas, if you happen to sweep the Cowboys, then you're talking about a 12-5 team. This is pretty good, guys. Okay? This schedule here, and again, I would have liked to have played the Packers sooner. I don't want Aaron Rodgers getting comfortable with his new wide receiving core, and by the time he gets down to week 12, they're pretty much going to have worked out a lot of things, and that offense will probably look a lot better. That's going to be a tough game. But remember, they lost people on the defensive side of the ball, and they also lost some guys in the O-line. That Packer team's kind of walked back a bit. Plus, you got Rodgers floating around whether or not he's going to play or not. I mean, all that other stuff playing into it. Sensational talent. That Packer game, I'm not sure what kind of Packer team's going to come back. So everything, in my opinion, is totally setting up here for the Eagles this year to really have a great season. I was really encouraged after you look at it, where they could be in these benchmark games. We're going to know, going Cardinals and Cowboys, pretty much who this team is by then. Because then you got the bye. Then you got the Steeler team with no quarterback coming out of that. Hey, Mitchell Trubisky, great. Okay. Mitchell Trubisky beats Jalen Hurts, then guess what? There's bigger problems on the Eagles than just talking about whether or not they're going to make the postseason. Eric Silz, do you honestly think this Eagle team can win 11 or 12 games? With this schedule, I do. With this schedule, I do. Okay? With this schedule, I do. No, smile. No. I think they're going to have a good season now. Hey, look, we've talked about all the things that Jalen Hurts needs to work on. Okay? We've talked about it. And we've talked about it enough. Let's go to work now. They've got the schedule. They've got the roster. Okay, we could sit around and bang on what Jalen has to do, how many yards he has to throw for, who gets involved in all that stuff. Great. We all know that now. I've laid it out for you. Now it's time to go to work.